It's the Mr. Mentality Show. Today, Mr. Mentality explains pet theft, undemnitized signs of excess and sacrifice.
Well, what have you got for me this time?
Our pet hamster died, Mr. Mentality, just like you said it would, and we're pretty bummed out.
Phew! You boys should have come to see me a little sooner. We better go bury this one with the others.
Mr. Mentality, why do people have pets? It makes me feel really bad when they die.
That's a good question, and it has to do with monumentality.
Monumentality? What's that?
Well, let me put it this way. How many pets have you had die altogether?
Let me see. A dog, 2 cats, 5 or 6 fish, a rabbit, a gerbil, 2 or 3 hamsters, a snake, a turtle. Gee whiz, quite a few, I guess.
Right. Well, you see, boys, having that many pets die in your care teaches you a valuable lesson about how to mourn. Mourning. How to deal with the loss of something that you love and identify with. A nation has to learn this same lesson. How to deal with the loss of one generation after another. The founding fathers are long dead. Yet we're still the same America that they began. Monumentality is how we do this. School is a kind of monumentality in this sense. Anyway, I've been working on a monument to recognize the contribution that our pets make to American national identity. And while we're looking at it, I want you to have this faux hamster to keep you company until you can get a new pet.
But that's just a pair of socks.
Well, put it in the hamsterium, and after a few days you won't notice the difference. The purpose of my monument is to recognize the contribution that our pets make to American national identity. Just look, for example, at this ad put in the newspaper by the Humane Society in the Alachua County Animal Shelter. A home without a pet is just a house. Now that proverb represents a statement of belief, and it is beliefs like that that make us a people.
What if nobody adopts them?
Then they will be euthanized.
What's euthanized? You mean you make them younger?
No, just the opposite. Euthanized means to put them to sleep, which is a euphemism for putting them to death. Do you know how many unclaimed pets are euthanized every year in this country?
1 million?
Too low. Guess again.
1 billion.
Too high, but you have the right idea. That information is published each week in the newspaper in a section called FYI, for your information. In our county, 100 to 150 animals are killed each week. I have a brochure from the Humane Society that gives the national statistic. 1 pet every 1.5 seconds is killed. That figures out to about 8 million destroyed annually. What I want to show on my monument is that the death of these extra pets is a sacrifice on behalf of our national identity. For every house to have a pet requires a supply to meet the demand, and the leftovers have to be wasted. The destruction of 8 million pets a year is the price we are willing to pay for the practice of having a pet. It shows we are sincere. It's the same kind of sacrifice recognized in memorials to soldiers killed in war.
But what if we don't want to make that sacrifice? What if we don't think that it's right?
Well, that could mean that there's a contradiction in our values, and that would mark a problem that needs fixing. Or it could just mean that we don't understand ourselves very well as a nation, the way some people don't know who they are. We don't realize the extent to which our existence depends upon a tremendous amount of waste. Perhaps this fable, rewritten by a computer, will explain it better. One day, Henry Crow sat in his tree holding a piece of cheese in his mouth, when up came Bill Fox. Bill saw the cheese and was hungry. He said, "Henry, I like your singing very much, Won't you please sing for me?" Henry, flattered by this compliment, began to sing. The cheese fell to the ground. Bill Fox saw the cheese on the ground and was very hungry. But then Bill Fox got sick. Henry Crow saw the cheese on the ground too, and he became hungry. But he knew that he owned the cheese. He felt pretty honest with himself, so he decided not to trick himself into giving up the cheese. He wasn't trying to deceive himself either, nor did he feel competitive with himself, but he remembered that he was also in a position of dominance over himself, so he refused to give himself the cheese. He couldn't think of a good reason why he should give himself the cheese. So he offered to bring himself a worm if he'd give himself the cheese. That sounded okay, but he didn't know where any worms were, so he said to himself, "Henry, do you know where any worms are?" But of course he didn't.
On next week's episode, Mr. Mentality explains traffic fatalities.